The crystal chandeliers of Monarch cast golden reflections across the finest china in Philadelphia as August Falcone cut into his perfectly seared Wagyu steak, the murmur of elite conversation a familiar symphony to his ears. His dining companion, a politician whose loyalty was being purchased with every sip of $900 bourbon, suddenly froze mid-sentence, eyes widening at something behind August's shoulder. Outside, the January wind howled against century-old windows, a stark contrast to the warm glow emanating from the restaurant's interior, where Philadelphia's elite dined in blissful ignorance of the city's darker realities. The senator's nervous glance toward the entrance betrayed his awareness that their conversation about waterfront development contracts existed in a world most citizens never glimpsed. August noted the politician's discomfort with clinical detachment, having long ago mastered reading micro-expressions that revealed more than words ever could. The slight dilation of pupils, the almost imperceptible tightening of jaw muscles, signs of a man suddenly realizing he was seated with a predator, when commotion disrupted their carefully orchestrated evening. A commotion erupted at the restaurant's entrance, followed by the unmistakable sound of a child's panicked breathing and the hurried shuffling of small feet against marble floors. The maitre d' tried to intercept the intruder, his whispered objections dissolving into the background as August turned with calculated slowness, wineglass poised halfway to his lips. The boy couldn't have been more than 7, his clothes disheveled and face streaked with tears, hair damp with sweat and melted snow despite the frigid January night. His eyes, wide with terror and desperation, scanned the dining room with frantic intensity until they locked onto August's expressionless face. "Please, sir, you have to help," the child gasped, his small voice cracking as he stumbled forward, collapsing at the edge of August's table, tiny hands gripping the pristine white tablecloth. "They said only someone powerful could save her. They pointed to your picture in the newspaper." August's bodyguard moved forward with practiced efficiency, but August raised one hand, stopping the man in his tracks as the restaurant fell into a hushed silence. The boy's next words sent an unexpected chill down the spine of Philadelphia's most feared man, a sensation August hadn't felt in years. "They locked my mom in a freezing container. She's dying." The boy's voice broke into a sob as his small body trembled violently. "They said it's a message for someone important, that she'd be frozen solid by morning if he didn't come." August's face remained impassive as he placed his napkin beside his plate and stood with deliberate slowness, buttoning his tailored jacket with one fluid motion. The restaurant patrons watched in stunned silence as he knelt before the shivering child, his voice dropping to a tone few ever heard, quiet, gentle, almost soft. "What's your name, brave one?" August asked, his dark eyes studying the boy's face with an intensity that made his bodyguard shift uncomfortably, sensing something awakening in their boss that had long been buried beneath years of calculated violence and power. The boy hiccuped through his tears. "Leo, sir. Leo Harding. Mom's name is Natalie. She works at the library downtown. She helps everyone. Never hurt anybody." His small hands clutched desperately at August's sleeve, wrinkling the immaculate fabric. "Please, they said she has hours before the cold." Without a word, August removed his cashmere coat and wrapped it around the trembling child, enveloping him in warmth that smelled of expensive cologne and subtle power. With one smooth motion, he lifted Leo into his arms, the boy's weight nothing against his broad chest. "Finish with the senator," August instructed his underboss, in a voice that had returned to its familiar steel edge. "Call our men at the port, the warehouses, and the rail yards, every cold storage facility in Philadelphia. No one sleeps until we find her." August's face had transformed entirely now, the carefully controlled mask of civility replaced by something ancient and terrible. A predator awakened. The restaurant patrons averted their gaze, pretending fascination with their meals as he carried Leo through the hushed dining room. "I promise you, Leo," August whispered, his breath forming a small cloud in the frigid night air as they stepped outside. "Whoever took your mother just made the worst mistake of their short lives." The sleek black Bentley pulled to the curb instantly, its driver already opening the door without being summoned. August settled Leo into the plush leather seat, the boy's wide eyes reflecting the streetlights as reality seemed to catch up with him. "But who are you?" Leo whispered, clutching the massive coat around his small frame as August slid into the seat beside him, already dialing his phone. "Mom says I shouldn't go with strangers, but I didn't know where else to." "I'm someone who keeps his promises, Leo," August replied, his voice deliberately gentle as he pressed the phone to his ear. "And I promise we'll find your mother. Tell me everything you remember while my men are already searching." The Bentley's interior bathed Leo in soft blue light from hidden LED panels, technology disguised as luxury in a vehicle designed to withstand explosives and high-caliber rounds. August watched the boy struggle to organize his thoughts, noting how he twisted the hem of his shirt, a self-soothing gesture that reminded August of another child long ago, faced with unimaginable loss. Through the tinted windows, Philadelphia transformed from glittering downtown to industrial wasteland, the city's true nature revealed in abandoned factories and forgotten neighborhoods. His driver navigated the labyrinth of streets with practiced precision, responding to whispered coordinates coming through the encrypted communication system, concealed within the car's elegant dashboard. The car glided smoothly through Philadelphia's snow-dusted streets as Leo described through hiccuping sobs how he and his mother had been walking home from the library when 3 men in dark clothes approached them. They knew Mom's name, called her Ms. Harding real polite, like they were her friends. "Mom told me to run when she saw their faces, but one grabbed me so fast," Leo continued, his small hands clenching into fists. "They said they needed her to send a message and that I should tell the man in the newspaper, you, that she's in the big metal box where things stay frozen at the old shipping place." August's jaw tightened imperceptibly as he processed the information, his mind already mapping every cold storage facility in the city. "Did they hurt you, Leo?" he asked, voice deceptively soft as he texted rapid instructions to his lieutenants with his free hand. Leo shook his head, tears still streaming down his face. "They said if I brought you before morning, Mom might still be alive. If not," his voice broke completely, small shoulders shaking beneath the massive coat as the full weight of his mother's danger crashed over him anew. "Your mother works at the Central Library, the one with the stone lions out front?" August asked, receiving a quick nod in confirmation. "And you've never seen these men before? Try to remember their faces, any names they used, even the smallest detail." The boy closed his eyes, brow furrowed in concentration despite his fear. "One had a scar here," he traced a line across his chin, "and another kept playing with a silver coin between his fingers. The third one called the scarred man P and said something about the shipment being worth it." August's phone buzzed with incoming reports from his men already spreading through the city's industrial areas. "Your mother, does she have any connection to shipping, imports, cargo?" he questioned, his mind racing through possibilities, cataloging enemies who might target him through an innocent woman. Leo looked confused, shaking his head. "She's just a librarian. She helps organize community programs and reads to kids on Saturdays. Everyone loves her." His voice dropped to a whisper. "It's just been me and Mom since Dad died in the army 3 years ago." Something shifted in August's expression, a flicker of recognition, perhaps even pain, quickly concealed behind his mask of control. "Your father was military?" he asked quietly, his hand coming to rest gently on Leo's trembling shoulder. "Army sergeant." Leo nodded, a hint of pride momentarily breaking through his fear. "Mom keeps his medals in a special box. She says he was the bravest man she ever knew." The boy looked up suddenly, eyes widening. One of the men said something about docks and freezer number 7. "Driver, head to the abandoned shipping terminal at Pier 24, August commanded, his voice razor-sharp as he forwarded the new information to his men, already converging on the waterfront. The boy had just provided the final piece they needed. Only one facility still had the original numbered cold storage units. Snow collected on the windshield faster now, Philadelphia's weather turning from gentle flurries to something more treacherous, as if nature itself conspired against their rescue mission. August's mind calculated alternative routes, contingency plans, possible traps, the tactical analysis happening automatically while his exterior remained calm for Leo's benefit. The dashboard clock read 9:47 p.m., each minute marking decreasing odds of finding Natalie Harding alive as hypothermia tightened its grip with merciless precision. August had witnessed death by extreme cold during his military contractor days, the blue-tinged skin, the paradoxical final sensation of burning warmth, the peaceful surrender to sleep that never ended. The Bentley accelerated smoothly through the night, its headlights cutting through falling snow as Leo clutched the door handle, his other hand still buried in August's expensive coat. "Will we make it in time?" he whispered, voice small against the purring engine. August's phone lit up with a message, his eyes scanning it quickly before he turned to Leo with unexpected gentleness. My men have found signs of recent activity at an abandoned warehouse near the water, tire tracks in fresh snow, a lock cut on the gate. The waterfront materialized before them, a landscape of shadowy cranes and hulking metal buildings silhouetted against the night sky, the Delaware River a black ribbon beyond. August's men had already secured the perimeter, dark figures moving with military precision through the maze of containers. "Stay close to me, Leo," August instructed as the car stopped, his driver opening the door to the biting cold. "I need you to be brave for just a little longer. Can you do that for your mother?" His eyes locked with the boys, seeing a determination that belied his young age. The abandoned shipping terminal loomed before them, a cathedral of rust and concrete, its broken windows reflecting moonlight like jagged teeth. August lifted Leo easily, carrying him through the snow as his men converged around them, reporting in hushed, urgent tones. "The main storage building has 7 refrigeration units still intact," his security chief murmured, falling into step beside August. "Unit 7 shows signs of recent access, footprints leading in, none coming out. Thermal imaging confirms a heat signature inside, but it's faint and fading." August's pace quickened, his face set in stone as he processed the implications of fading heat signature, while feeling Leo's small body tense against his chest. The boy had understood too, his breathing becoming shallow with renewed panic. The cavernous interior of the warehouse greeted them with shadows and the echo of their footsteps against concrete, the air notably colder here than outside. Flashlight beams crisscrossed the darkness, illuminating rows of massive metal containers with heavy doors, industrial freezers once used for importing perishable goods. At the far end, Unit 7 stood with its control panel glowing an eerie blue in the darkness, digital numbers displaying the steadily dropping temperature inside. The heavy metal door was secured with a padlock and chain that hadn't been part of the original structure. "Stand back," August ordered, setting Leo down gently behind the protective wall of his men before nodding to his security chief. The lock was dealt with in seconds, the chain falling away with a metallic clatter that echoed through the cavernous space. The rush of frigid air that escaped when the door swung open felt like winter itself had been trapped inside, billowing around them in a cloud of white vapor. Leo lurched forward with a cry, but August caught him, holding the struggling boy firmly as his men entered first, weapons drawn against any possible trap. "Clear!" came the call from inside, followed immediately by, "We've got her. She's alive but barely. Get the medic now." The word sent Leo into a frenzy of movement, his small body twisting in August's grip with unexpected strength. August released him, following close behind as Leo rushed into the freezing container where Natalie Harding lay unconscious, her lips blue against pale skin, body curled tightly against the killing cold. The sight of his mother, so still, so vulnerable, froze Leo in his tracks. Natalie Harding was lifted from the freezing metal floor, her unconscious form immediately wrapped in thermal blankets by August's medical team who worked with practiced efficiency. Leo pushed through the wall of men, his small hand reaching for his mother's pale one, tears freezing on his cheeks in the brutal cold. The thermal imaging camera one of August's men carried revealed the grim progression of hypothermia throughout Natalie's body, her core temperature dangerously low, extremities nearly frozen, vital organs struggling to maintain basic functions. Every medical professional on August's payroll had been alerted, specialists waiting at Philadelphia's top hospital with treatment protocols already initiated. Steam rose from Natalie's lips with each shallow breath, visible proof of life that Leo watched with desperate intensity, as if willing each exhalation to continue through sheer determination. August recognized the look. He'd worn it himself once, holding a comrade's hand in distant mountains while waiting for a medical evacuation that arrived too late. "Pulses weak but steady," the medic reported, pressing an oxygen mask to Natalie's blue-tinged lips. "Core temperature dangerously low. We need to warm her gradually to avoid shock. The hospital's been notified and is preparing a trauma room." August watched the scene unfold, his calculating gaze taking in every detail of the container, the industrial-grade lock that had sealed it, the disabled internal release mechanism, the small camera mounted in the corner. His eyes narrowed at this last discovery, recognizing it as a message meant specifically for him. The medics transferred Natalie onto a stretcher, moving with careful urgency as Leo hovered nearby, still wrapped in August's cashmere coat that dragged on the floor behind him like a royal train. The boy refused to be separated from his mother, climbing into the ambulance beside her, with a determination that brooked no argument. August stood in the swirling snow, watching the ambulance's flashing lights disappear into the night before turning to his security chief. Find out who owns this facility now, who had access to the security systems, and who delivered our young friend's message. I want names within the hour." The warehouse echoed with activity as August's men combed through every inch, searching for evidence while others reviewed security footage from nearby buildings. August himself walked the perimeter, noting tire tracks, footprints, cigarette butts, each potential clue methodically catalogued in his precise mental inventory. His phone vibrated with an incoming message, a single line of text that caused his expression to darken ominously. Security footage shows 3 men bringing in a woman matching Natalie Harding's description at 6:42 p.m. Facial recognition confirms 2 are associates of the Petrov syndicate. August's jaw tightened imperceptibly as pieces began falling into place. The timing, the theatrical nature of the abduction, the deliberate clues leading him here. This wasn't random. It was an elaborate play designed to draw him personally to this location at this specific time. The realization struck with crystal clarity, just as his security chief shouted a warning from across the warehouse floor. "Boss, remote detonator signature detected. Everyone out now." The words had barely registered when the first explosion rocked the far side of the building. Fire erupted in violent orange blooms along the warehouse walls, the ancient structure groaning as support beams buckled under the sudden stress. August moved with instinctive speed toward the exit, his men following in practiced evacuation formation. The night air outside filled with the acrid smell of accelerant and burning metal, as flames consumed the warehouse behind them, illuminating the snow-covered ground in flickering amber light. August watched impassively, calculating eyes reflecting the inferno while his mind raced 3 steps ahead. "They wanted us here," his security chief muttered, brushing debris from his shoulder while counting heads to ensure all men were accounted for. "They knew you'd come personally if a child was involved. They used your reputation against you." The irony wasn't lost on August, that his enemies had weaponized the only whisper of humanity he'd allowed himself to maintain in a world built on calculated brutality. The reputation he'd cultivated for years, that August Falcone honored debts, protected innocence, and adhered to a code beyond mere violence, had become the perfect mechanism for this elaborate trap. Firefighters arrived at the perimeter, their red lights casting eerie shadows across the snow-covered ground as they were held back by police officers on August's payroll. The warehouse fire would be documented as an electrical malfunction in a derelict building, another anonymous blaze in Philadelphia's industrial district that merited nothing more than a paragraph in tomorrow's newspaper. August's phone rang, an unknown number that he answered without hesitation, his voice betraying none of the cold fury building within. "Bold move," he said simply, watching the warehouse burn before him like a funeral pyre. "Not many would dare." A heavily accented voice replied, the smugness palpable even through digital distortion. "Consider this a greeting card, Mr. Falcone. The woman and child were merely the envelope. The real message is what comes next. Philadelphia has new management now." August ended the call without responding, pocketing his phone with deliberate slowness as he turned to his waiting men. "The Petrovs have made their move into our territory," he announced, voice carrying above the crackling flames. "They believe they've found our weakness." The hospital corridor gleamed under harsh fluorescent lights as August strode through automatic doors, the scent of antiseptic replacing smoke on his tailored suit. The nursing staff recognized authority when they saw it, directing him without question to the private room where Natalie Harding was recovering. Leo sat vigilant beside his mother's bed, still dwarfed by August's coat, despite hospital staff's attempts to replace it with a blanket. The boy's eyes lit with recognition as August entered, exhaustion momentarily forgotten in the relief of seeing a promise kept. "The doctors say Mom will be okay," Leo whispered, his small hand never leaving his mother's arm where IV lines delivered warming fluids. "They said 10 more minutes in that freezer and she might have—" His voice trailed off, unable to complete the thought. Natalie Harding looked nothing like August had expected, her features delicate even against the hospital pallor, dark hair framing a face that seemed too young for motherhood. The monitors beside her bed beeped steadily, each sound confirming her gradual return from the brink. "You found her," Leo said with simple conviction, as if August's success had never been in question. "Just like you promised." The boy's unwavering faith struck August with unexpected force, stirring something long dormant beneath his carefully constructed facade. August moved closer to the bed, studying the woman whose life now unexpectedly intertwined with his. Her medical chart indicated moderate hypothermia, contusions from being forcibly taken, but no life-threatening injuries. a small mercy in an otherwise merciless situation. The men who took your mother wanted to hurt me, not her, August explained carefully, choosing words appropriate for a 7-year-old's understanding. They used you both as bait, thinking I would walk into their trap without considering the consequences. Leo's brow furrowed as he processed this information, his expression suddenly older than his years. But you came anyway, he observed quietly, even knowing it might be dangerous. Why would you help strangers when you're— The boy hesitated, clearly uncertain how to define what August was. Before August could formulate an appropriate response, Natalie's eyelids fluttered, consciousness returning in small increments as she fought through layers of sedation and lingering cold. Her first coherent sound was her son's name, fingers twitching toward him before her eyes fully opened. Leo. Her voice emerged raspy and thin, barely audible above the medical equipment's steady hum. Where? What happened? Confusion clouded her features, until she registered Leo's presence, relief washing over her face, before giving way to renewed fear as she noticed August standing nearby. Mom! Leo launched himself carefully against her side, mindful of the IV lines as he nestled against her shoulder. This is Mr. Falcone. He saved you from the freezer container where those bad men put you. His doctors helped warm you up and everything. Recognition flickered in Natalie's eyes, not of August personally, but of what he represented in Philadelphia. Her arm tightened protectively around Leo despite her weakness, maternal instinct overriding physical limitation as she assessed potential threats to her child. August recognized the precise moment Natalie connected his name to his reputation, watching the calculation behind her eyes, weighing gratitude against justified caution. Ms. Harding, he acknowledged with a slight nod, maintaining a respectful distance from her bed. Your son showed remarkable courage tonight. The men who took you, did they say why? August asked directly, his tone gentle but insistent, as Natalie's gaze shifted between him and Leo. Your son mentioned they used specific phrasing, referred to sending a message. I need to understand what connection they perceived. Natalie swallowed with difficulty, fingers trembling as they brushed through Leo's hair in a gesture that seemed as much to comfort herself as him. They said I was collateral in a negotiation and that Falcone would understand the stakes when he found me. You and your son will stay at my estate until this matter is resolved, August stated rather than suggested, his tone brooking no argument as he stood near the hospital room window. The Petrovs have made their intentions clear. They see you as a means to manipulate me. Natalie struggled to sit upright, color returning to her face in the form of indignant flush. We're not staying with a complete stranger, especially not one with your— She trailed off, glancing meaningfully at Leo. We have a home, a life that doesn't involve whatever this is. August's expression remained impassive as he turned from the window, moonlight silhouetting his imposing figure. The men who took you know where you live, where Leo goes to school, and likely every detail of your routine. Your home is no longer safe. The silence that followed was heavy with implication, broken only by the steady beeping of medical monitors and Leo's soft breathing as exhaustion finally claimed him. Natalie's protective arm remained around her sleeping son, her eyes never leaving August's face as she processed their new reality. Why would you protect us? She finally asked, voice stronger now as her body temperature normalized. We're nothing to you, certainly not worth making enemies over. There must be some angle I'm missing here. Her directness surprised August. Most people cowered before him rather than questioning his motives. August studied her for a long moment, appreciating her perception and courage despite their circumstances. Your son mentioned his father was Army Sergeant Paul Harding, 3rd Battalion, 187th Infantry Regiment. He died during a classified operation in Kandahar Province 3 years ago. Outside the hospital window, dawn painted Philadelphia's skyline in watercolor hues of pink and gold, a beautiful backdrop to the ugliness of what Natalie was learning about her husband's final mission. The truth August possessed was incomplete, deliberately so, but contained enough classified details to confirm his connection to Paul without revealing the operation's true purpose. The steady rhythm of medical monitors provided percussion to their conversation, a reminder of how close Natalie had come to death in that container. August watched her processing the revelation, noting how she unconsciously mirrored her son's earlier gesture, fingers twisting the edge of her hospital blanket, as she incorporated this new reality into her understanding of Paul's sacrifice. Natalie's sharp intake of breath confirmed his information, her fingers instinctively tightening around Leo's shoulder. How could you possibly know that level of detail? She whispered, new wariness entering her expression. Paul's mission classification meant even I wasn't told exactly where or how, because I was there, August replied simply, watching understanding dawn in her eyes. Before I returned to Philadelphia to take over family interests, I served as a private military contractor. Your husband saved my life, and 3 others during an ambush that should have killed us all. The hospital room fell silent, save for the steady rhythm of machines and Leo's soft breathing as Natalie absorbed this revelation. Paul never mentioned names, she finally said, studying August with new intensity. But he wrote about a mission gone wrong in his last letters home. August moved closer to the bed, his customary intimidating presence softened by the context of their conversation. I made a promise to him as he died, that if his family ever needed anything, I would be there. I've had someone watching over you and Leo from a distance these past 3 years. Natalie's eyes widened, pieces suddenly falling into place. The mysterious scholarship fund for Leo's private school, the unexpected insurance policy that appeared after Paul's death, the maintenance man who refused payment after fixing their heating last winter. That was all you? Consider this room secured for the night, August continued, deftly avoiding her direct question as he checked his watch. My men are stationed throughout the hospital. I'll return in the morning to transfer you both to a safe location while my people deal with the Petrovs. As he turned to leave, Natalie's voice stopped him at the threshold. Mr. Falcone, she called softly. Careful not to wake Leo. Thank you for keeping your promise to Paul. But you should know, we won't be pawns in whatever war you're fighting, regardless of your history with my husband. August paused, appreciating her spirit, even as he recognized the futility of her statement. Ms. Harding, you became part of this war the moment the Petrovs chose you as their message. The choice now isn't whether to be involved, it's whether to survive it. Dawn broke over Philadelphia, painting the snow-covered city in hues of pink and gold as August's motorcade pulled into the private hospital entrance. 3 black SUVs with tinted windows formed a protective barrier, while his security team swept the area before signaling it was safe to proceed. Natalie stood waiting in the hospital room, dressed in clothes August's assistant had delivered. Simple but expensive items in precisely her size, a detail that clearly unsettled her. Leo bounced on his toes beside her, his natural childhood exuberance returning despite their circumstances. Your home was compromised last night, August informed them without preamble, noting how Natalie instinctively moved closer to Leo at the news. My men found surveillance equipment and evidence that someone has been monitoring you for at least 2 weeks. The drive to August's estate passed in tense silence. Leo's face pressed against the bulletproof window, watching the city transform into countryside, while Natalie studied their stoic protector. The questions in her eyes remained unspoken, but clear. Why would the dangerous Petrov syndicate target a librarian and her son? The sprawling stone mansion appeared behind wrought iron gates, its manicured grounds protected by an invisible security system that August's driver activated with a remote code. Leo's eyes widened at the sight, his 7-year-old mind momentarily distracted from their ordeal by what looked like a castle from his storybooks. This wing will be yours, August explained, leading them through a labyrinth of corridors adorned with subtle wealth, original artwork, antique furniture, and old-world craftsmanship that spoke of generations rather than new money. My staff has been instructed to provide anything you need while maintaining maximum privacy. As they settled into their new surroundings, August retreated to his study, where his lieutenants waited with updates that transformed his normally stoic expression into something darker. The digital screen displayed photographs and documents, evidence of an elaborate scheme months in the making. The Petrovs have been planning this incursion since October, his intelligence officer reported, highlighting financial transactions that painted a disturbing picture. They've systematically bought influence in Philadelphia's Port Authority, corrupted 2 judges, and established shell companies throughout your territory. August studied the intricate web of connections, his mind cataloging names for future reference, names that would soon be attached to obituaries if his suspicions proved correct. And their interest in Ms. Harding and her son? There must be something beyond sending me a message. His security chief slid a folder across the polished desk, his expression grim. Sergeant Harding's last mission wasn't just any operation. He died protecting classified intelligence about weapons smuggling routes the Petrovs now control. They believe his widow might have information they need. The pieces clicked into place with cold clarity as August reviewed the documents, understanding blooming like frost across glass. They don't want her for leverage against me. They want whatever information she might have inherited from her husband. Using her to draw me out was merely efficient multitasking. The intelligence officer slid another document across the desk, this one containing satellite imagery of a remote Afghan compound, where August and Paul's unit had conducted their final operation together. The timestamp showed it was taken just last week, now occupied by figures identified as Petrov Associates, evidence of a connection between past and present that transcended continents and years. August's fingers traced the outline of the compound's eastern approach, the exact path where Paul had positioned himself to cover their extraction, sacrificing his own escape route to ensure the team's survival. The operation details remained classified, but its consequences had followed August from those distant mountains to Philadelphia, pulling an innocent librarian and her son into a war they never chose. A soft knock interrupted their discussion as August's housekeeper appeared at the door, her normally composed features showing uncharacteristic concern. "Sir, the boy is asking for you. He seems quite insistent and his mother is unable to calm him." August found Leo in the massive kitchen, tears streaking his face as he clutched a smartphone, Natalie's phone that they'd recovered from their apartment. "Look," he cried, thrusting the device toward August with trembling hands. "They found us. They're coming here." The screen displayed a simple text message from an unknown number. "Tell Falcone we're coming for what belongs to us. Your husband's secrets die with you tonight." Below the text was an image that froze August's blood, a satellite view of his estate taken that morning, with a red X marking the guest wing where Natalie and Leo were staying. August's response was immediate and devastating, a series of commands into his own phone that activated protocols years in the making. Within minutes, his estate transformed from luxurious home to fortress, security teams deploying with military precision while digital countermeasures scrambled any surveillance targeting the property. "You need to tell me everything about Paul's final deployment," August insisted, his voice gentle but firm as he sat across from Natalie in his study. "The Petrovs believe you have information valuable enough to risk war with my organization. What could your husband have possibly hidden?" Natalie's hands trembled around the teacup she hadn't touched, her eyes distant with memories she clearly preferred to keep buried. "Paul sent me letters that made no sense before he died. Coordinates, names, shipping manifests coded as family recipes and childhood memories." The fire crackled in the massive stone hearth, casting dancing shadows across August's face as he listened with growing comprehension. "You thought they were love letters with private jokes, but they were encoded intelligence, insurance in case something happened to him." "I never decoded them," Natalie admitted, finally meeting August's intense gaze. "After the military notified me of his death, a woman came to our house, not in uniform but clearly government. She asked if Paul had sent anything unusual, then left her card when I said no." August leaned forward, the predator in him sensing critical information. "Do you still have that card? The letters?" His question carried urgency that made Natalie straighten, her own protective instincts flaring in response to potential danger to her son. Moonlight filtered through bulletproof windows, casting long shadows across August's study, as a grandfather clock in the hallway marked time with solemn precision. Outside, his men patrolled the perimeter with military discipline, their breath forming clouds in the frigid night air as they guarded against the attack both August and Natalie now understood was inevitable. The carefully maintained fire crackled in the stone hearth, its light revealing the subtle shifts in Natalie's expression, caution warring with desperation, trust competing with years of protective instinct. August recognized her internal struggle, the same calculations he made daily about whom to trust with sensitive information, except her stakes were infinitely higher, her son's life balanced on her decision. "Hidden in a false bottom of Leo's toy chest, the only place I knew no one would disturb," she confessed, watching carefully for August's reaction. "I kept them because they were Paul's last words to me, not because I understood their importance." Night fell across the estate as August's men retrieved the hidden documents, the security feeds showing increased activity at the property perimeter, dark figures testing defenses, probing for weaknesses in preparation for their promised assault. The chess game had begun, pieces moving with deadly purpose across Philadelphia's underworld. In the kitchen, an unexpected scene unfolded. Leo perched on a counter stool watching in fascination, as August himself prepared hot chocolate, the domestic activity incongruous with the man's dangerous reputation. "My mother used to make this when I couldn't sleep," August explained, the rare personal revelation surprising even himself. "Were you scared a lot as a kid?" Leo asked with childish directness, accepting the steaming mug with both hands. "Mom says being brave doesn't mean you're never afraid. It means doing what's right even when you're scared." August considered the question with unexpected seriousness, something about the boy's earnest expression demanding honesty rather than platitudes. I was scared often, but learned to hide it. Your mother sounds wise. Her definition of bravery is better than most. Natalie appeared in the doorway, pausing to absorb the surreal tableau before her. Philadelphia's most feared man teaching her son how to make the perfect whipped cream swirl atop hot chocolate. The domestic scene created an unexpected ache beneath her ribs, a glimpse of normalcy amid chaos. Leo should try to sleep, she suggested softly, her voice causing both males to look up simultaneously. It's been an overwhelming day. The unspoken concern behind her words was clear. She wanted her son away from the coming violence they all knew was inevitable. August wiped chocolate from Leo's upper lip, with casual tenderness that belied his deadly reputation, the gesture so paternal it momentarily stole Natalie's breath. Sleep sounds wise. My men have fortified your rooms specifically. You'll be safest there while we handle tonight's business. As August's security chief escorted Leo to bed, Natalie remained in the kitchen, studying the enigmatic man who had upended their lives. You're different with him, she observed quietly, accepting the mug of hot chocolate he offered. Almost like you're two different people. Perhaps I am, August acknowledged, his customary mask slipping to reveal something genuine beneath, a glimpse of the man he might have been under different circumstances. Your husband saw that too, in Afghanistan. He told me I didn't belong in that world of blood and sand. Natalie's fingers brushed August's as she took the mug, the brief contact sending an unexpected current between them that neither acknowledged, but both felt. And do you belong in this world you've built? The question held no judgment, only honest curiosity. The attack came at midnight, coordinated, professional, and utterly futile against August's preparations. The Petrov forces found themselves outmaneuvered at every turn, their carefully planned assault dismantled with surgical precision by August's superior intelligence and resources. From the secure room where she and Leo sheltered, Natalie watched on monitors as August moved through his territory with lethal grace, less a businessman defending property than a warrior protecting his domain. The contrast between this predator and the man who had made her son hot chocolate hours earlier was jarring, yet somehow made perfect sense. Dawn broke over the estate, painting the snow-covered grounds crimson and gold as August's men completed their sweep, confirming what their leader already knew. The threat had been neutralized, the Petrov forces decimated beyond recovery. Philadelphia's balance of power had been decisively restored. August found Natalie standing at the window of the secure room, her silhouette outlined by morning light as Leo still slept peacefully on the makeshift bed behind her. It's over, he stated simply, maintaining a respectful distance as she turned to face him. Is it ever truly over in your world? Natalie asked without accusation, just honest inquiry from someone thrust unexpectedly into a reality she never chose. Or does victory just delay the next battle until someone finally wins the war? August considered her question with the seriousness it deserved, appreciating her perception and courage despite circumstances that would have broken most people. The Petrovs have been eliminated as a threat. The coded information your husband sent you has been secured and will be delivered to the proper authorities. Natalie's gaze remained steady as she processed this information, her thoughts clearly on what came next for her and Leo. So we're free to return to our lives, pretend none of this happened and go back to story hour at the library and second-grade spelling tests? You could, August acknowledged, moving to stand beside her at the window, both watching the sunrise in momentary silence. Or you could accept a different option, one that provides security for Leo's future while honoring the promise I made to your husband. The question hung between them, unspoken but palpable in the morning light streaming through bulletproof glass. August continued with uncharacteristic hesitation. My organization's legitimate businesses include a foundation for veterans' families. It needs a director with both personal understanding and administrative skill. Leo stirred behind them, sitting up with tousled hair and sleepy eyes that brightened at the sight of August. Are the bad guys gone? He asked simply, childhood resilience allowing him to process trauma with surprising adaptability. Can we have pancakes for breakfast? The moment broke whatever tension had built between the adults, Natalie's soft laugh joining August's deeper chuckle in unexpected harmony. Pancakes sound like an excellent victory celebration, August agreed, extending his hand to Leo, who took it without hesitation. In the massive kitchen that had become their unlikely sanctuary, August surprised them both with expert pancake flipping skills, explaining that cooking had been his mother's passion before illness took her. She believed families should gather around food, even when business kept my father away. Natalie watched him with new understanding, seeing layers beneath the dangerous exterior. The boy who lost his mother, the soldier who served with her husband, the man who kept promises even when they crossed worlds. Paul would have liked seeing you like this, she said softly, accepting the plate he offered. I've had my legal team prepare options for you, August explained as they finished breakfast, his tone carefully neutral. A new home in a secure location, educational trust for Leo, and the foundation position if you want it. No obligations, no expectations, just fulfilling my promise. Leo looked between the adults with a child's perception for undercurrents, his fork pausing midway to his mouth. Are we staying with Mr. Falcone? I like it here. His pancakes are better than yours, Mom. His innocent observation carried implications that brought color to Natalie's cheeks. Your mother needs time to decide what's best for both of you, August replied diplomatically, though something in his expression suggested the boy's directness had struck a chord. My home is open to you for as long as you need while you consider your options. Natalie studied August across the breakfast table, seeing the complexity of the man Paul had deemed worthy of a deathbed promise. Dangerous yet honorable, ruthless yet kind, a contradiction embodied in the way he cut Leo's pancakes into perfect triangles, while simultaneously directing the cleanup of last night's violence through discreet messages on his phone. Maybe we could stay through the weekend, she suggested cautiously, watching hope bloom in Leo's eyes, and something equally powerful but more controlled in August's. Get to know more about the foundation. See if it would be a good fit for us. August's smile transformed his face from intimidating to handsome, years seeming to fall away as he nodded agreement. The weekend is just the beginning, he replied, the words carrying weight beyond their simple meaning. I believe your husband would approve of whatever makes you and Leo safe and happy. The morning sun streamed through tall windows, illuminating 3 unlikely companions sharing breakfast after surviving darkness together. A boy who showed extraordinary courage, a woman discovering unexpected strength, and a man whose carefully constructed world had been irrevocably changed by a child's desperate plea. Sometimes family finds you in the most unexpected ways, August observed quietly, as Leo ran to the window to watch deer crossing the snowy lawn. Paul saved me in Afghanistan, and now his son has saved me in ways I didn't know I needed. Thank you all for following this story. If you enjoyed it, please write in the comments where in the world you're watching from, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video, as your support is crucial for me to continue creating content here.